Welcome to Curious Salma. My guest today is Ray Alan Pricel. Ray is a children's picture book author. He has published 2 books, My Brother is a Werewolf, being a #1 new release on Amazon, and Build with Bricks. When he is not writing books, Ray works full-time as a fraud investigator. Hi, Ray.
Hey, good morning. How are you doing today?
How are you? Thanks a lot for joining me.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you on the show and just to talk about everything and stuff. So
Ray, first of all, I want to tell my listeners how we know each other. Why don't you share that?
that is a very that's a very great story actually. So I'm in the process of writing a series of books, and one of the books I'm writing involves an Egyptian girl. So I wanted to make the story as authentic as possible. So I was reaching out to just multiple people online, and you happen to be one of the people that got back to me about just the culture and stuff. And our conversation, we had a conversation about the culture around the Egyptian women and stories and things like that. And that conversation, I still remember. It's just I have my notes. I still look at it and stuff. It was a great conversation, and since then I consider you as a very good friend of mine. Definitely have been using your notes for future stories and stuff like that too. So it was just amazing because in the time of the internet, you're able to reach out to so many people around the world, and just to connect with you has just been awesome, and just something I really treasure.
Thank you so much. It's one of the reasons why I'm still on Twitter, by the way, and I'm still in love with social media. Is with stories like that. I got to meet and know so many great people all over the world, and yeah, till now I'm regarding myself a child of social media. First of all, of course, I want to thank you for being one of my supporters to get this podcast out. How it came to be, like, yeah, we've been on touch since our meeting, I think last year or
Yeah,
over a year. But when I asked you on Twitter who wants to be a guest on my podcast, you were one of the first people who signed up. So I'm really grateful for the support. And also, I like that by recording this, I'll get to know more about you and we'll become better friends even.
oh, absolutely. Definitely become better friends for sure.
So let me start by asking, what are you curious about?
You know, as a writer, I guess I'm curious about everything because there's a lot of things that I don't know about when I'm writing. I don't know the stories I write aren't always things that I know or things I'm accustomed to. So I'm always curious about life and how, particularly how children look at life and what they think about it. So that's why I write from a kid's perspective. And it's just curious how their minds are so much smarter than what we think they are as adults. They understand a lot of things. They pick up things. They're very intelligent. And I think we should give them a lot more credit about that. So I guess that's what I'm very curious about right now is how do kids look at the world, either from a 5-year-old or 10-year-old perspective.
The thing is, for me, I yearn and I love and admire the children's, like, not the no filter thing, but like how they are curious and have unfiltered curiosity about the world. And I really want to go back, man. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, it's their minds are very, very interesting. And they're so creative, and they have so much they're so intelligent. I think we don't give them that much credit for things. They know a lot more, and it surprises you how much they know. When you sit down and have a conversation with them, you're like, wow, you really know all that? It's crazy sometimes.
I'm not sure if you're aware, but you know that my name of the show, or the name I had on social media for a while, was called Salma Asks in Arabic, Salma Tas'al, and
Oh, okay.
it was based on a character on Cartoon Network that we grew up watching. That girl was called Salma, and she used to ask really annoying questions. She was curious about everything. So they got her, like, it's a small segment, but she would say, "Why doesn't it rain candy? Why can't we slide on the rainbow?" Stuff like that. So when I tried to do a social media persona, I just used that name and it became like a hit. But yeah, the curiosity in children, especially when they want to explore the world, is really something that you can just like follow and be inspired by your whole life. I knew from you, like, just now, that you have been working as a fraud investigator, right?
Yeah, yeah.
How long?
Oh, about 10 years or so in different companies too. So, in different companies in different aspects of the fraud industry, I'll say.
Why the shift from being a fraud investigator to a child author book?
Well, I've always loved writing since I've been probably in 5th grade. My parents just gave me these notebooks and stuff. I used to fill them up with stories and stuff like that. But when I got in college, I realized that I probably wouldn't get paid a whole lot writing, especially when I went to college. It was around the 2008 when I went to college or so. So I knew that I needed to do something that was going to be, financially stable, give me some stability, but also, I still wanted to write. I was still writing when I was in college too. So I decided to go into the fraud investigation field and use my talents for writing and actually help my fraud investigation. So there's times I write reports, about my findings that actually help, people. For instance, I was a check fraud analyst. So what would happen? People would sign bad checks. So I had to write reports about that, for the banks and stuff I worked with. Right now, I fraud investigation for clients and stuff, big clients around the world, big and small clients, I'll say around the world. So I always find, investigate my findings. I had to send my reports to compliance and things like that. So my writing has helped in that aspect for sure. And the fraud definitely just changes all over the time, all over the place. Like right now, we're also doing with cryptocurrency too. So there's different things you have to learn about that. So it's very interesting. But the writing has always been the thing I love. Like I like the fraud stuff and like the fraud investigation, but I just love writing. I love telling these stories. Both sides of the brain are operating on different spectrums, but they're almost linked in a way because the main focus is the writing portion of all that.
The interesting part in your story right now is that it's not the typical where, oh, I was doing a corporate job, so I hated my life. And then at one point, I decided to switch and become like, rediscover my passion. Like when you talk about being a fraud investigator, it seems that you actually like it as well.
Oh yeah, I like it a lot. It's funny. The children's stories and the fraud stuff both help people in different ways. And I like helping people. The fraud investigation gets to help people because I've been a victim of identity theft, and I had people get hacked my credit cards before, and it sucks when that happens.
Oh, wow.
So in this aspect, I get to help people like that. I've done that before in multiple other jobs and stuff, but you get to help people, get their money back. It does. And when you just all of a sudden lose your identity or lose your credit card or something like that because someone online takes it because you're just buying something, it sucks. So I get to help people in that perspective. In the writing aspect, I get to write stories that parents and children can enjoy to help them that way too, and bring a smile to the world too. So
I just got scammed like 3 weeks ago. It really sucks.
it does. Yeah,
It
it
does.
really does.
It makes you less trusting.
Especially online, especially on because we're buying so much online now, and then you're like, "What happened?" You're like, they want me to buy online, but when I buy online, there's always this risk of me losing my identity or someone, get my card numbers, and then it takes a while for the banks to give your money back. So, it's a whole ordeal.
So you're in Washington, Pennsylvania. What time is it now for you?
10 o'clock.
So like, yeah, it's 6 p.m. here.
Oh, okay.
What does your morning routine look like normally?
So Monday through Friday, I do the proposition job full time. So I get up around 7 o'clock. I have a dog. I take care of him. I have an English bulldog, so I'm out out back with him, feed him, and mess around with him in the morning. Get ready for work and stuff. I work from home currently. I used to go and drive into the office, but because of COVID, I've been at home. I work from home currently, and I just work throughout the day until about 5 p.m. Eastern time. My daughter's home with me, so I get her up. She's a night owl, so she'll sleep in for a while. So she's not going to bed until maybe two a.m. She's a big gamer,
Like all kids these days.
like all kids these days. Yes. So I'll get her up around like 10:30, 11 o'clock. And, she'll help me with the dog and help me around the house and stuff like that too. So when work's over, I like to spend time with her and my wife. We will, go to the store or something like that. We'll spend some family time, watch television, watch movies or something like that. So since it's nicer out, we'll go outside, head to the park and stuff. Spend some time out.
So how is work from home working for you?
Work from home has been lovely. I don't have to drive in for the traffic. The weather's bad sometimes on the East Coast, so we get a lot of snow around like December through April sometimes. So I don't have to drive in. I don't pay for parking. It's and more importantly, I get to spend time with my family. All that the drive back and forth. It's hard, so I like now I'm home with my family. I can spend more time with my daughter and stuff. So that's been just beneficial for me. So
Yeah, I think it's really something to be grateful for, like spending more time, being more in control with your time. Generally,
time is very
Ray,
important.
generally, would you describe yourself as an introvert or extrovert?
More introvert, and it's funny, because I do sign myself up for stuff like this all the time, but I think I tell people that it's good to get out of your comfort zone. So even if you don't like public speaking or if you don't like doing different things, it's good to do those things to experience those things because the more you do it, the more you'll get comfortable. It's beneficial and I would say important to just get out of that comfort zone and just try things, even if you fail. I mean, you just can't keep doing the same thing, every day almost. You gotta try to switch things up, and it'll help you grow as a person for sure. So yeah, definitely I'm an introvert. A lot of times, like I said, especially working from home, you're by yourself a lot, So I communicate with my team members and everything like that. But even outside, I don't, other than my family, I don't really talk to a whole lot of other people. So I'm definitely, introverted like that.
But what you just said, I need to like cut that apart and like play it on and on every day as an inspiration, like a pep talk. Get out of your comfort zone and don't be afraid to fail and all of that. This is
You know, this year in particular, because I got COVID and stuff. I have failed a couple times because of that. You get COVID, you're trying to avoid it, and here you go, you got that. So what I say to people, especially my daughter, what a teacher now, is that losing's going to happen in life. You're going to lose. You're going to interview for a job, and you're not going to get it. You're going to get a job probably, and you're going to get laid off or get fired. It's going to happen. And losing never gets easier, but what I say to her is, what's important is not being at the top. Is when you do lose, can you get back to getting to a position where you feel comfortable again, where you're happy again doing what you're doing. That's important because some people lose and they just can't get back up.
I want to ask you, what would be the title of the book about you if your worst enemy wrote it?
If my worst enemy wrote it, Ray Price, the procrastinator, I think he would say, because definitely there's sometimes, it's funny I say that, but there are times where I'm like, I don't feel like doing that today, but there's times where there's a fire and I'm like doing everything, it seems like, but there are times where I procrastinate and don't, I'm like, I don't know about this, and I don't know if I'm ready to do this today or not, but that's just me. I think that's just, maybe that's part of the introvert of me too, not want to do things all the time. Definitely doing the things I have to do on a day-to-day basis. But there's definitely things I think we all as adults too just don't like doing.
You just described my life. um, what's your favorite productivity hack?
What has helped to me is trying to find a space wherever it's at, no matter if it's in a cafe or a home, wherever it's at. For me, it's usually somewhere that has snacks, like pastry snacks and stuff like that. I like to go places like that, and I can eat a snack and write, and I can see people. Even if you're not writing, just to go out and just see and hear conversation. That sometimes will make your day for sure. You just hear the most interesting things, but that also will inspire you too. Just to see these random people just interacting in their lives and stuff too. It'll help inspire you no matter what you're doing. You might not be writing a book, you might be doing a podcast. Just to be out, just to hear people might give you ideas for that podcast. Like, maybe I'll do something on, pets or relationships. You never know. You're just hearing people. And the snacks help because it gives you that sugar, it gives for me that helps a lot. I get to have a snack and just hear conversation and type stories or whatever I'm doing. So that's my biggest my hack right there.
It's mine too, by the way. I love going to cafes
Yeah,
and changing scene, like if you ask me to go every day to the office and meet the same people, after a while I need a change in scene, in scenery and different stimulants, and as they say, so just watching life, as you just said, I think it's all writers describe that. Like we have a very famous writer called Naguib Mahfouz, and he used to have like a writing routine where he goes to the cafe in the morning, he have his coffee, and then he begins writing every day. So that's what you just described now.
even when I was working at work, I would sit in the cafeteria some days, or I would go out in the city some days and sit around the city people and stuff, and just get different aspects and stuff. It's good to get that change of scenery, even for me during lunch and stuff. I didn't like being at the same cafeteria every day. I like to be in, okay, I'll go downstairs at this cafeteria, I'll go to this cafe for lunch and stuff, or I'll go to this restaurant just to get a different feel for the city and the people. I did that a lot. I really enjoyed. That was one thing about COVID I missed because I couldn't go and see the people and stuff like that and interact and just hear things. So
How are you right now, by the way? after
I'm
having
feeling good
COVID?
right now. I had COVID in January, the week before my birthday, so it definitely sucked. So we didn't do my birthday until like a month later, because the whole family had COVID too. So I had the
Wow.
COVID, and then a week later, my daughter had the COVID. You know, my wife had it. So yeah, it was wild. But we all recovered better. We're still doing fine. My wife still has long COVID, so she's still just very still lingering symptoms and stuff from that. But everyone else is doing pretty good.
I really hope she gets better.
Thank you.
Do you also reminisce about how life used to be before COVID? Like, do you feel that I don't want to get dark, but like, do you feel like you've become a different person and sometimes you wonder or reminisce about how you were in 2019? Like, for me, sometimes I look back and I'm like, best year of my life. I didn't know all of this shit is coming. But like, to look at it from a different perspective, do you feel like you've grown as a person? Like it changed you and affected you in different ways since 2020?
Yeah, I will say positively. I will say it's funny you mentioned that because I remember in 2019 I'm beginning to write My Brother's a Werewolf, and we have an illustrator, and I was actually asking other authors, "Hey, would you like to be part of this story?" You know, and I was telling them about it. And I was getting, people was like, "I don't know, I got so much to do." I'm like, 2020 sounds like just a sexy year to have a project out. Like, why would you not want to get into this? You know, I thought that was strange. I think that was the foreshadowing. I should have paid attention to that things were just going to change. But the positive of that happened. All my interactions for my book since 2020 have been online. You know, everything I've done, and I think it's just a positive thing. Being working from home and able to fit these meetings in for the books have been. I don't think I would have been able to do that. Well, if COVID wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't have been able to meet people like you for sure. If COVID wouldn't have happened. That is a positive. I think I'm more open now. There's more people I've talked to. It's been great all over the world. So it's been absolutely great. I just talked to someone last week about alchemy over in England. I was like, this is great. Just to be able to have a conversation about this with people. I If you had told me that in 2018 that I would be able to talk to you, who's in Egypt, I wouldn't believe that. I'm like, I don't think, I don't think about that. If you still would have told me that in 2020, I don't think I would believe it because I still think that someone who messages you that you never knew before and you answer that, it's still kind of a risky thing to do. I think when we talked, I think I told you thank you because I was just thankful that you were like, okay, we'll do the Zoom call or whatever the Google Meets call because I think some people still wouldn't do that. I don't blame them. Some wild people out in the world and stuff. You just never know, what they're going to do on camera, especially when you never met them before. But I'm thankful for people like you who give me the opportunity just to sit down and have a conversation.
So now I'm blushing. I'm just describing to the listeners. But the thing is, yeah, communication or being open and vulnerable to strangers and people is always risky. There's always a risk, whether online or offline. But for me, if I'm talking about how I see the world, is like you give chances to people and you hope they don't screw you, or you're
Yeah,
like, yeah, you're like, make a compromise, because the good experiences that you get will be worth it, and the bad experiences you try to just like be prepared or heal from them or whatever. But for me, I wouldn't give being open for strangers or having like these random encounters, because they are actually worth it, like they add to your personality, to your experiences, to your viewpoint of the world. So yeah, of course I would do it. But even post COVID, as you just said, I think people now long for communication much more than before, because it got really lonely for different kind of people. Like some people, it was a blessing in disguise. Like they got to work from home, they got to spend more time with their families. But for me, for instance, it was the first time I lived on my own. I was just getting used to it, and then COVID happened, and I had to like stay with myself for a few months. And being an overthinker and being an extrovert, it wasn't easy at all. So you
yeah,
start to experience these feelings of loneliness and wanting to belong and wanting to communicate. And I found a lot of people who wanted that as well, and we had lots of Zoom calls and lots of game nights and all of that. But what you mentioned, what I can relate to it, is like, yeah, everyone now around the world is longing for communication in a way. So that's why they are now more open to having these experiences and talking to people and sharing, because we all had a common trauma in a way right now. I feel like
yeah,
the whole world has been having or sharing the common struggle, or yeah, trauma, or whatever you call it. So that creates a sense of wanting to belong and wanting to fit in and share and all of that. So thanks a lot for sharing inspiring, and I really hope that you and your family gets better.
Thank you. I had a quick question for you, actually. Our experience, how we met, is very interesting. Have you had other experiences like that from like Twitter or
Of
something like
course,
that?
all
Wait, that's been positive. Let's say that. Let's say it has been positive.
Yeah, they have been positive. So the first time I meet random strangers I found from the internet was in 2010 actually. We had like our first meetup and I was very shy and I wondered how it's going to be like, yeah, believe it or not, I used to be very shy and like, yeah,
Oh wow.
and scared of like meeting strangers, but it's been since then it's been a blessing. I've made many friends over the years from Twitter, not just Twitter, like all social media actually, or networking events or stuff. Like, yeah, we haven't met in person yet, but I think, yeah, it will be cool once I go to the US once or you come to Dubai
Yeah,
or wherever I will be.
definitely.
I am all for this, for putting yourself out there, getting out of your comfort zone, and just like trusting people. What makes you feel inspired or like your best self?
You know, inspiration for me happens like in like different ways. I would say sometimes it could be my daughter, sometimes it could be kids. I think positivity and happiness inspires me the most, and I say that as a person who's predominantly mostly positive. In my life, but just being around the energy of other people, especially other creative people in general, that inspires me a lot. I have a friend who's a writer in California, and just we have conversations sometimes, and we just talk, and I'll inspire him, and he'll inspire me, and it's just that energy will feed off of each other, and it could be just about anything. It could be about our projects, or about future projects we're working on, and that inspiration will help him write things. It'll help me write, but I'll talk to other people too about non-writing things too, and just to hear their success or their failures and stuff like that, and just to talk to them about my success or failures too. That is inspirational too. It's also therapeutic too. Talking to people about stuff like, especially other creative people, about their projects and what they're doing. That's another reason why I wanted to do this with you too, because I'm a creative person too, and just to talk to someone else who's doing something different in the field is just it's just great. Especially podcasts. I love doing this stuff. I think podcasts are very important. You hear the conversations and the genuine conversations from people and stuff. It's just pretty amazing.
It's one of the reasons I started this actually. Like I wanted to be able to talk to people I admire or people who have interesting stuff, who are inspiring, who are just being themselves. Like the category is very wide. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
What's the best compliment you've ever gotten?
It's a good one. People compliment my eyes all the time because they're green. And I always like that. But the best compliment that I've gotten, particular was this story I read. It was about
Which one?
divorce, and my brother's a werewolf.
Okay.
So it's about divorce, and there's a guy who bought the book for his kids, and he told me that, hey, I was going through the divorce, and this book had helped me talk to my kids about it, and they really liked it and they appreciate it. Thank you for doing this. Please keep writing stories like this. And that for me was like enough for me to go, wow, that's really important. That this story that I wrote, that I didn't think people was, I didn't know how people was going to like this, how they were going to react to it. He really likes it, and he's really, it's really have helped him in his real life. Those things like that, you can't. For me, I can't ever, writing the story, you don't know what the reaction's going to be. So when you hear a reaction like that, it leaves you speechless, for sure. And I truly appreciate stuff like that. And that compliment was better than any monetary value I received that whole year. Just to know that changed, helped someone else's life out.
That's really very cool. It's great. What's the other book about? The other book you published?
Built with Bricks. So Built with Bricks is a prequel to the Three Little Pigs. So it's like a prequel. My father used to read that story, the Three Little Pigs, to me all the time. So I thought, as a perfect story to introduce myself to the writing, would be just to do like my own version of the Three Little Pigs. So basically, it's a story about a pig who is growing up through the pages of the book from infancy to almost young adulthood, and the pig is doesn't know why the parents keep buying them things for building. Like, what am I doing with this? Throughout the story, the pig realizes that when the pig gets a certain age, that okay, my parents keep buying me like bricks and wheelbarrows and all these things for building tools, but my friends here are getting these cool gifts over here, and they're not working as hard. So what's going on? So it's almost there's moments in the story that are relatable as a kid. I think everybody as a kid can remember that. You saw a kid across the street with this cool toy or whatever it was, and you're like, why don't I have that? Or you wondered why do they keep my parents keep telling me to do these things? You don't understand them as a kid, but later on in life they seem to click and make sense to you. And there's moments like that, or even the time when your parents have showed you or taught you how to do something for the first time. There's moments like that in this story, that particular that I wanted just to write and showcase, as an author too, for sure.
Great. And your books are available on Amazon, right?
Yes, both books are available on Amazon. Built with Bricks and My Brother is a Werewolf.
And when is the book about the Egyptian queen? When is it out?
That will be out. I was just talking to someone about that too this weekend. So we are publishing the sequel to My Brother's a Werewolf, which, it's a new book in the series. It is a sequel, and then after that book, the Egyptian book will be coming out soon. I actually started working on that, and I have really great ideas for that, and I really think you're going to really love that for sure. The stuff I'm thinking about and everything else. So I do want to make. I will definitely be having another conversation, about that. Me and you definitely, about
Yeah,
that book.
sure.
So.
You'll start your press tour with me.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. I hope to be back on the show for it. So
Since you mentioned creativity and everything, what's the best? I don't want to say best, like, but which movie or series or book inspires you the most? Like your favorite?
right now, this is going to be might be not surprising. Right now, the Marvel stuff inspires me. The Marvel movies. So I was recently going through a writer's, not drought, I had a problem in this in the new book coming out. And towards the end of the book, wasn't sure how to finish the book. I knew where it was going to get to, but there was a scene in the book I just didn't know how to write the way I wanted to. So I went to see the recent Doctor Strange movie, and there's this amazing scene. Did you see it?
I did, yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to spoil it, but towards the like the almost the end of the movie, there's a scene where Doctor Strange is he goes to one of the realities and he meets himself.
The
You
one
know what
with
I'm
the
talking about?
piano scene. I love that
Yes,
scene. That was my
absolutely,
favorite.
absolutely. I saw that scene and I was listening to a podcast and there's a guy on there who said, "I don't think I've ever seen a fight scene quite like that before." And the more my mind thought about the movie and thought about that scene, the more it inspired my book. And I was like, how can I do something not similar, but something that's different? I don't want to make a fight scene or anything like that. That's just simple. So I would definitely say the Marvel stuff has influenced this, but actually influenced these books. Actually, it is probably the biggest influence of the books, I would say, because how much I know people enjoy those movies and stuff. My books, in this series of monster books, they all tie together, but you can read them out of order. You don't have to read them in order, but they all fit in the same universe, just like the Marvel thing. So it's yeah, Doctor Strange really helped finish. I was like writing for days too, just stuff was just coming out on paper. So much I was like messaging my illustrator, and I told her on the call, I was like, I'm so sorry I messaged you and sent you all the messages because there's so much information I was just writing and stuff. And she said, no, it's okay. And I think we're putting together something really special because of the inspiration I just had recently. So.
I love when that happens. Like I was stuck, as I said, I wanted to do this for a while, but I was stuck on how to start, and I was in my head, and I was watching, like I was just chilling and watching Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, season 4.
On Amazon, right?
I
Yeah.
love it. Anyway, I was just watching it. It was random. It was not relevant to what I want to write, but it just inspired me. Like she was struggling at the second episode with herself and like the world and her recent experience with failure. So she was starting to wonder if she's good enough and all of that. And then the song played in the end. And then once it played, for some reason, I just opened my laptop, wrote about the experience itself in my script where I'm in the first episode. So yeah, I love when that happens actually. The thing with Marvel is like at the beginning, I kind of resisted it because I felt, oh, it's too mainstream, but they actually create art, they inspire you, and I don't feel bad like going to pay that money for a movie because I know I'll have a good time.
Yeah.
That's how they build up this experience and all of that loop, and it's kind of, you get stuck. Like I became a nerd actually. or one of these geeks who keeps talking about how this before this, and the details and which characters, like it creates a world for you that makes you escape from sometimes all of the life challenges and whatever, if you want to just escape for an hour or two and watch something and have fun and have a few laughs. So yeah, it's pretty good, and it made me want to watch the
Nice.
comic read the comic books. Like, I have always wanted that, but I now realize that movies and series that are based on comic books are usually my favorite. So maybe I should go to the roots and read the comic books. You know what I mean? Do you have a comic book in mind?
Do I have one in mind? 'Cause I read quite a few. There is one in particular I like. Do you like the DC stuff? Like the DC comics?
If you're telling me like which your favorite like stuff about superhero, the Batman trilogy for sure is on the top, and nothing beats it
Yes.
ever in life.
I have a good book that you'll enjoy then. It's called The Three Jokers, and it's a really great Batman story. Really great. You don't have to know much about it other than, I mean, they kind of catch you up and stuff in the beginning. It's almost standalone, but it does that. It does deal with trauma. It deals with it's almost like a horror story too in a way. And there's a lot of surprises too, for sure. I was reading it month by month. Me and my daughter actually read, and there's definitely we were just like, I can't wait till the next month to be the next issue and stuff. It is so good. It's called, like I said, it's called The Three Jokers. It came out in probably 2020. It definitely came out during the lockdown, maybe 2021. Definitely give it a read. If you're a Batman fan, I highly
Oh,
recommend
thank
it.
you so much. I am definitely googling that as soon as we're after the
Yeah,
show.
let me know when you pick it up. Let me know what you think
Okay,
about it too.
sure, sure. I want to ask you what's one question you wish I would ask you, and how would you have answered?
That you wish you would ask me? Maybe my favorite food. I haven't you haven't asked me about that. I mentioned the pastries, but we haven't talked.
Food is my main thing to talk about in life. Yeah, we can talk about food for hours. First of all, do you eat to live or live to eat?
Both? Can
It
I be
can be
both at
both.
this
It
point?
can be
Is
whatever
that
you
possible?
want.
Is that allowed? Okay. I think it's both right now. I love pizza. That's my favorite food.
Are you into the whole debate of pineapples on pizza? Is it yes or no?
Oh, it's yes for me. You can put wherever you want on your pizza if you like. When I was a kid, I always wanted bubble gum on pizza, like actual pieces of bubble gum on pizza. But it never happened. But I thought that was it was one of the things I wanted for my birthday. I was like, can we get bubble gum pizza for some whatever reason?
I have no idea why it strikes such an argument, a hot argument, when you mention, oh, pineapple on pizza. There are people who are strongly against it and people who are all for it. And it's like, one of those things.
I don't eat it all the time. I made it like a month ago. I made it, and the smell of pineapple on pizza crust with salt. Oh man, in the oven, that smells so good. It is good. I'm not gonna lie, it is good. The pineapple sauce, the pineapples with the pizza and stuff. I don't know why people get up in arms about it. Eat what you want on your pizza. If you want to put mushrooms and everything else on your pizza, be all for it. People put veggies on their pizza stuff too. So if you want to put apple slices on your pizza, you can do that too if you want.
What's one thing you think can't be put on pizza?
Here's one thing I don't like about pizza is people who dip it in ranch. I don't like
Yeah.
that. Like I just for some reason I'm like I don't like that. So maybe that's the one thing. Yeah. So maybe that's one thing I don't like about pizza. Pizza and ranch. Maybe that's my line in the sand. So
I'm trying to start a segment in my show called Everyone Should Stop, Insert Your Word.
everyone should stop and think. I think that would help a lot of situations if you stop and think first. We're so much in a rush, so just that couple seconds could change things. That couple seconds could change, could save a life. It could decide your. It can decide what avenues you go in life. I think we're moving so fast. All the time. I think COVID slowed us down, but we're back to that speedy progression again. And I think we definitely all could stop and think.
Awesome. Ray, where can listeners find you online?
I'm very active on Twitter. So if you go to at my handle is at Raymond A Price on Twitter. Definitely can find me online there. That's probably the best place to find me online for sure. I don't have Facebook, and the book has a Instagram account, but I don't usually answer questions on there either. I also have a YouTube channel for the book. It is at My Brother is a Werewolf on YouTube. You just type that in, you'll find these. Subscribe to the channel and get updates on that book and other books too. So that's the best place to find me for sure.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Ray. I'm very very glad we got to do this, and we got to talk about everything. It's been a pleasure.
Me too. I'm glad we were able to sit down and do this. I definitely can't wait to talk to you again about the future stories I'm writing, or definitely about the podcast you're doing for sure. I want to be on it and be another guest on this. I could not miss the opportunity to be one of your guests on your podcast. Absolutely, I could not. I was like, I have to, So I'm glad I had the opportunity to do this. I'm glad I made you blush maybe twice
Yeah.
or so on the podcast so far. So,
Yeah, I'm blushing right now. Thanks a lot, Ray.
but it's been great. It definitely has been great.